right, and we are live. All right, gang. Welcome back to the soapbox. Want to dive in a little bit here. So just a few things. One, I hope everyone's doing well. Checking in. It's been a, so here in the Northeast, we're going into November here, and it just literally snowed like 6 inches, so it's crazy. So it's just classic. But it's Halloween today, so happy Halloween for you wild animals that are listening on Halloween. If not, it's past. Hope you enjoyed. Now, what I want to talk about on this episode, I was talking to a few of my friends, a few people that listen to the podcast regularly, which always means a lot to me too. When people, again, I always wonder like who listens to this podcast. I hope I'm reaching out to people, and time and time again, I'm reassured that I think people enjoy it. At least a handful of people, and that to me is more than enough inspiration to keep this thing going. But also, the requests, and they're like, we were BSing just about money and finances, and they're like, you got to go on another soapbox about finances or something like that. And it got me thinking, I definitely want to diversify. I've talked a lot about CrossFit. Granted, it's been a lot going on in that world and fitness. So there's obviously other dimensions that I am passionate about, at least I would hope a little bit. So what are we going to talk about from a financial perspective? And I did some thinking about it over the last couple of days, and the one thing that comes to my mind is really drawing parallels between fitness and finances. And the reason why is just because I think that certainly in the world, and specifically like CrossFit understanding of fitness and what it takes to get adaptation, to get results. And where I think a lot of people struggle with finance is the same exact place with fitness. In fact, if you take a look at some of the, the data out there from fitness and finances, it's both equally grim. And what I mean by that is, the amount of people that don't have enough money in their bank account to handle more than a $400 unexpected expense. One could say that the amount of people that don't have enough fitness in their bank account to handle an unexpected injury or unexpected physical task, unexpected sickness or illness. And I would say that I would almost say that if I were to put the statistics on it, do more work, be more well researched on it, I would say that it was very similar. Almost that the same amount of people that if you think about in CrossFit, you have your sickness, wellness, fitness continuum. We talk about this in our fitness lecture, but really the concept for those that are unfamiliar is basically, the more fit that you are, the more capacity you have, and the better your health markers are, the longer and the harder it will take for you to pass through not only wellness, but then also to get sick. It's essentially your bank account for life, right? Where it's a hedge against sickness. It's a measurement of your health. And you take that same approach with a bank, right? It's a bank account, right? And the longer it takes to get to zero, but the more money you have in your bank account, the more you have the ability to handle things, to take care of things, to, the unexpected. And the reason why that's important is because life is unexpected, and that's what we're preparing for. So let's talk about some parallels that get me fired up on the sense of, okay, what are some best practices? How do we draw these parallels and understandings? Well, and what to do. I think like the first understanding, I think that I'm a fan of reading and learning. So I think one of my favorite books on money, it's called Naked Money. And there's a whole naked series out there, but I really liked it because it taught me about sort of like the history of money, and it was really fascinating. And I think that's really helpful because I think that in order for you to understand something or at least respect it and work towards something, knowing it a little more intimately is something that I like, as opposed to just sort of blindly doing something. So Naked Money is a really good resource out there. And there's a lot of other good books to start to understand, like, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I'm reading one right now, The Good Economics in Hard Times. Those are a little more heady, if you will. But there's a lot of cool resources out there to just start to learn and dig in about currency and money and what that looks like. And so there's There's one book that was kind of dry. I mentioned it before, but essentially it's like all about taxes and businesses and classifications, and which was almost like overwhelmingly dry, but it was mind-bending from an opening perspective of the amount of opportunities out there. And I think that's where I want to start. Finances is like the world of fitness because there's really no one way to do it, but our goal is the same. Now, there are best practices, there are protocols that we might say, hey, like CrossFit is the most effective way to get generally physically prepared and fit, and we know that and we've proven that. But there's also other ways you can get fit and stay fit, and there's also specificities that you can go down which yield unbelievable results, but somewhat lopsided, right? And open yourself up to risk. So think about finances the same way, but what are the red threads throughout those communities, and thinking about like, okay, well, hard work. I don't care who you are. Right? In order to get fit, you have to work hard. You just can't be lazy. You just can't sit back and hope that things happen. Same thing with fitness. I think that no matter how you decide to make money, to save money, to grow your wealth, to grow your portfolio, you have to work hard. And then, but also within that, you also need to tirelessly try to improve and get better. And this is, I probably think, the biggest thing I want to highlight from a financial perspective is, what are you doing to get better? What are you doing to make sure that what you're doing is optimized? Do you have a feedback loop? Do you have a coach? Right? Are you always tirelessly trying to get better at things? And I think, and that's the biggest thing. It's like, well, I don't want to tell people like, hey, this is what I do, you should do this, because I don't think that's the only way, nor do I even know if it's the best. It's just one way. Is it effective? I guess. I don't know. But what I think is important is, what are you doing to learn? Like, I was like something I was, it's like, all right, we were looking at our 401ks because it's coming towards the end of the year, they should be filling up, and then we noticed something that I didn't like about it, like some like new rollover thing, but then from there we're getting what is a company matching it or not, all these things, right? But it boiled down to me is like, well, great, all right, well, if I like it, if I don't, that we'll fix that. It doesn't matter. But what matters is we are aware of what's happening, we're learning about what's happening, and we're making action based off what our goals are and what we want to achieve. So what are you doing to constantly assess, evaluate, reevaluate, and change course as needed on what's happening with you financially, right? So, and I think that's something that is really easy to do, but it just takes some time and effort. Are you looking at your pay stubs every week, every other week to make sure things are where you want them? Do you have someone or a group that is helping you do this? Now, and that might be from an investment perspective, just from a savings perspective. Do you know what do you have an IRA? Do you have 401k? Where is that going? Are you, you're paying taxes, but you're making money. Or what are you doing to put money in different places so you don't have to pay as much taxes, but you can make your money work for you? There's a lot of tools out there. And a lot of this just takes time, and this is like, we can have a much larger discussion how it's criminal that there are individuals out there that have gone through school that don't know any of this. The fact that you can graduate high school, college, and not have a basic knowledge, even in-depth knowledge of how to handle your finances is criminal. Because really, your finance, it's running a business. Your home, your life is a business. So if it's just you, it's a very simple business, right? A little easier to run and manage. If it's you and someone else, it gets more complex. If now you and a family, even more complex. The more things that you own gets more complex. The more businesses that you own gets more complex, which means the more things that you have. All of these things. Just again, but that's sort of what you're preparing for in college, is to increase the complexity of your life. You're going to get a job, you're going to do all sorts of things, and whatever path you decide to take, no doubt it's going to be more complex than when you were 16. And that's the thing that I think is just mind-blowing to me, is that you can't live like a 16-year-old, right? You just, the biggest thing is if once you get money, you can't just decide to spend it. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway, is that why and what are you spending your money on? And I think that's probably another thing is like, from a fitness and it's like fitness. All right. So what does that mean? It's like, well, why and what are you spending your time to actually work on, right? And that's why I think CrossFit's so effective, because, all right, we realize that we have a short period of time to achieve our goal. So, well, if I'm going to work out with high intensity gets the results. I love that. Overlay that with, it's like, all right, well, what am I going to spend my money on? What are you going to spend your time on? Now, whatever you spend your money on, it should be things that make you happy, all this other stuff, but you need some sort of repercussion. What I mean by that is, I'm probably too maniacal from the sense of like spend money on nothing, right? And you don't need to be so restrictive, but like, I think that you need to have, and what I mean by that, I was talking to someone yesterday, but like if you got your paycheck every week in cash, said, all right, here's $1,000 cash, put a simple number on it. And then from there, that cash in your hand that you saw, then you'd actually have to then put on the table in front of you, all right, well, this is what I have to pay for my health care. This is what I have to pay for, state tax, federal tax. This is what I have to pay for, all the other things, those little line items on your paycheck, put that down. Got it. This is what I'm going to put. And then from there, all right, this is what I'm going to, and then you have like, all right, well, I'm going to put this into my 401k. That's what I allot. And all right, now I'm going to put this into my fund for whatever it might be. I'm going to go, and now you have your money in your hand, right? Now, that money in your hand, you could go to the coffee shop and get a coffee, you could go this or that, but now you're going to be way more aware of what you're spending your money on. And that's my big challenge to do is how do you increase your awareness in a world where you actually never touch physical money? I think that's really, really hard because we are a touch and feel type of species. We like to touch, feel, see, all of those things. And when you can do that, it usually changes behavior, right? Behavioral economics is a really powerful thing. And we realize what is the power when things are right in front of us and what we're motivated by. So, and that's what's cool. You get into the world of naked money. It just talks about how money is this whole construct, right? It's like once you get beyond the fact that like money is not real, like it's real. I mean, we're really just, we're trading things, right? And this paper, this bit, this thing on our phone, this thing in the cloud has some type of value. Great. Well, if we all agree to it, which we do, then it works. And that's really all money is. Which is crazy to think about, though. You can have this whole existential debate on that, and it's sort of overwhelming. But, I think that's the thing is like how do you create awareness? And I think one would be, so like, again, I have a financial planner and we meet monthly and it's great. And we meet, Sasha's his name. And, what I asked him, and one of my favorite things that we do is we have a P&L. So it's a profit and loss statement for our whole family. So every month we review all money in, all money out, and it's all categorized. And what this and this is what we do every month, and it so certainly when the pandemic hit in the very beginning, everything got shut down. We were able to all right, really figure out how to squeeze the belt, tighten the belt, be really smart. So unexpected. We didn't know what was happening. We didn't know what tomorrow was going to bring, what shutdowns, what closures, whatever it might be. And it really is, they're just knobs, right? And if one knob goes down, how do we turn other knob up, or do we hold other knobs? It just, you get to modulate, and you run it like a business. And I mean, these are things that you don't need a financial planner for. You could absolutely do them on your own, but you just need time to do them. What is your time value? Where do you want to put your investment? Those are things you want to ask yourself. But it's also nice to have a third party do it because they'll raise an eyebrow on certain things, like a different perspective. It's having a coach, it's easy to get lost in your own world when you're just working out on your own, but you might never see something just because it's not you, right? You create your own blind spots. So. And we've caught a few things like, hey, what's happening here? But it's also my responsibility. I try to be super invested in that, looking at, like we caught that 401k thing this week. We'll fix that. Boom. Awesome. Whatever it might be, right? Like like you catch those things, or you learn, like, and like, oh, what is this? Or what is, are you exhausting every opportunity? And this is what I really ask you. Are you exhausting every opportunity to maximize what you currently have? Because it's not hard to make money. What I mean by that is there's always a hole to be dug. There's always work to be done. There's always something to do. And you can get that done. Now, you need that type of attitude. So when people complain about money or finances, the first thing I want to counter back is like, well, show me your lifestyle. I don't want to hear it until I've seen you exhaust the lifestyle. And I don't know, maybe that's too harsh, but it's like, are you working 7 days a week? Are you working every time? Like, because there's opportunity there. And for those, it's like, well, I don't want to work that much. Well, then great, then shut up. Then don't complain. That's fine, right? And that's the beauty of the world we live in. Just stop complaining about it. Money's easy to make. Even now, again, I was talking to someone the other day that like there's so much work happening right now, building happening right now because that you can't find enough people to pour concrete. You can't find like there are opportunities for people all over the place. And again, an opportunity is what you make it. An opportunity is something that gives you a step into the right direction. It doesn't have to align with every single goal or want that you have. It's an opportunity. An opportunity is not a gift, and it's also not deserved, right? And what you do with that opportunity can dictate what you have earned. And I think that's really, really important. It's like, what are you earning from that opportunity? And that's on you. Do you earn more opportunity? Do you earn more chances? Do you in going down that rabbit hole? So again, and this is what's cool. It's like the fitter you get, right? In fitness, in CrossFit, like everyone's like, does it get easier? No, it just gets harder because you have to move faster, you have to move higher skill movements, so on and so forth. And it's also you have to hurt a little more to get that adaptation, the intensity. And I think the same thing with finances, like the older you get, the more financially fit you get. These things also, like, you need to be smarter, you need to move a little faster, you're doing more complex things to achieve what's like, it's like, oh, like in the very beginning when you're 16, it's like you put your money in a savings account, boom, you're like the smartest person in the world, and big change. It's like you walk into a gym, you push your knees out, you lift your chest up, bam, world has changed, right? It doesn't work like that. It's not that easy when, later on. But also another thing is, I wish I started sooner. I wish I started earlier. How often do you hear that with fitness? How often do you hear that with finances? I wish I started saving sooner. Compounding interest is sort of one of those things. If you're not sure what it is, just look it up, and it's like, yeah, it's really simple. The earlier you start, this thing just starts to snowball over life and time. Fitness is the same way. I started CrossFit when I was 20. I was like, imagine if I did when I was 15. Like, you hear that all the time. Take the same thing with saving. Like, start saving now. Like, I wish every person understood that. And I see what kids spend their money on. I'm like, gosh, like, imagine if they just saved more and what that would be, and it's like, you could really do some cool stuff. And it just means a lifestyle change. But same thing with fitness. It's like, it just means a lifestyle change. What's important to you? And again, I don't think it's wrong to choose not to. I just want to make sure that it's like, just stop complaining and stop asking for handouts if you're unhappy. It's like, stop asking for things and get it done, knowing that your decisions will directly impact your life. And this is what's hard about life, that your decisions that you make when you're 20 directly impact your life at 35. It's very difficult to have that foresight. It's very difficult to have that understanding. Some people, yeah, they fall into luck, but again, those are the anomalies. Some people can walk into the gym and do double unders and muscle ups in a couple days. Who cares? They're not you. One, it doesn't matter. Stop comparing yourself to the fittest in the world, because they're not you and you're not them. And quite frankly, your goals might be different. So move on from that and start to focus on what you can do and what you can control. And find success in the small wins, but also start to understand how challenging it is to go through this, right? Like, you start to invest and the stock market goes up and down. How do you emotionally handle that stuff? So you also need to emotionally disconnect from money, which is important. Money shouldn't be your driving force. You need to emotionally pull back to the point where, kind of trust the process and let history guide you that, hopefully we're not going to go to this economic downturn that's going to last 5 or 10 years. Look what happened in 2008. Look where we are now. I mean, we had some pretty good recovery from really grim times, and that's when a lot of my people my age were getting out of college, right? So we've kind of been through this kind of twice now, certainly, and we live in a pretty special world and special country that allows us to do some really unique things, and that there's always opportunity for work, an opportunity for you to find opportunity. In turn, have your financial fitness, and it's the same thing with fitness. But again, it's not for everyone because it takes hard work, it takes consistency, it takes discipline, and those things are not for everybody. And that's why I don't have patience for everybody, because at some point you need to take responsibility and ownership for your own actions. And you can't force people to do things, and I think that's where the road stops. It's like at some point you need to do it. Same thing with this stuff. So different theme, different topic, but man, I get fired up about it. I love it. Hopefully you find some value in it. If not, let me know. Hit me up. Have a great week.